Right, I just wanted to make a very quick video. I've written on my hand what I want to say. It's a bad habit that I've had for years. This is obviously the number one thing, is to put my partner's name out there, as the title says for this video. At this very moment, I don't know what I'm going to put for the title, but it's basically to say, to put my partner's name, to clear my partner's name, his good name. I've never set out to say bad things about my partner. I've always told people that my partner, I wouldn't be here without him. He walked into my problems, and I will always however much my partner hurts me, because and I hurt him, I would not be here without him. And I agree with his mother that he was sent to me. I always think that, and I always stand by that, even when well, I know it's very confusing, isn't it, when you've got mental frailty. I said to him, look me in the eye. I said, I can't, because he's very upset with me that I couldn't even now, I haven't taken in what he said about the premiering, that he went back there to complain, and because I thought he was, because the Karen, the hotel manageress that worked there, she when I was kicked out of 4 South Road in New Haven, this manageress of the Premier Inn, he said he tried to get this woman who had offered help, and she pressed the alarm. So there's obviously a thing on record about us, I guess. Be careful of both of us. I don't know, or maybe I'm just imagining that one, or your guess is as good as mine. But he's upset because obviously I'm speaking my mind, and I said to him this evening, I said that I from the start, I opened up my heart to my partner Darren, and I thought, I know him, and even though he never tells me anything about himself, I mean, he's not like me. I'm the one he's very quiet and introverted and passionate like me, but sensitive, and men don't tell you things anyway, but he feels things very deeply like me, and we are equally yoked. I think we are, yeah. It's just, I think, because they say opposites attract, it becomes volatile because we both feel things very deeply. And this is where the confusion comes in, because I don't like the word sensitive. I think it's a very pathetic word to describe something that's intense and complex. We're not just sensitive or hypersensitive. They're stupid, pathetic, weak words that don't describe something that's so intricate. And I'm not as good with my vocabulary as Darren is, but I've been very, because I've had to deal I'm not certainly not deluded, maybe a bit paranoid, but the only ones who are paranoid are the ones who are doing all this evil, who want to silence me, that have made me ill, and therefore I've thought my partner's behind it all, you see. And when you're delicate, you've got a delicate mind because of because of past trauma. I mean, it's only just occurred to me that this is the second time I will be trying to put someone in prison, and the last time I put someone in prison, I didn't even have my partner, I was on my own. And I put a man on a sex offenders register and 2 years in prison for indecent assault. When I went to the Saturn Rape Victim Centre in Crawley. So when I was telling you about Saturnalia being a satanic god, which the Masons like to name all these institutions after gods and things. But anyway, I've gone off on one. But what I'm trying to say is, I just wouldn't be here without my partner. I've said, I know it's very contradictory, but it's complex when you're dealing with so many nasty people and you think, oh my gosh, could he be a sociopath? But it wouldn't make sense because he'd have to be very evil. And how do we go from being so close to our Saviour? And I can see, eyes are the window of the soul. But there's something very deep in his eyes, in his soul. So it can't, it doesn't make sense, you see. Because he even said to me, are you crazy? Do you really think I'd do something like that? And that's what I need to hear. Because I've genuinely gone into this dangerous part of my mind where I'm going 1 and 1 equals 2, but they don't. You're way off the mark. I'm way off the mark. The problem with stress, when there is so much stress, you're dealing with so much evil, it's so difficult to see that, the difference between that and emotional abuse and manipulation, like sociopathy, because the two can look the same, can't they? And yet they're two completely different things. So you have to be very careful. It's like childhood autism and childhood trauma look the same, but they're two different things. And things can be like misdiagnosed, It's the same with abuse. So it's awful. And of course I don't want to be a hypocrite because of my delicate mind. 5 minutes after I've just said I'm sorry to Darren and said good things about him to people, I might then be saying, oh, he's abusing me. And then they might think that I'm playing him or playing them. But that's the delicacy, and I've got the intelligence to see that. All we both want, as Darren said, it's like we've been in a pool or in the sea with our arms up like this going, help, help, help. And everyone's standing by the pool, just with their arms folded, watching us drown, Because I've observed him, because believe me, nothing gets past me. And I've thought to myself, he looks like me and sounds like me. So this can't, all you want is for someone to say, Brian, he's just stressed. Give him a break. Well, I wouldn't want someone talking to me like that, but just give him, you just both under a lot of, and there was a very lovely nurse down at A&E who did that. And this was after the police idiot PC Harriet and his colleague said my partner was a knob. And he said and because he'd said it's maybe he should treat you like a wife if he says he sees you like one. And then that gets stuck in there. And then when my partner is then screaming and shouting at me, I then think that he's arranged for me to get arrested out of the psychiatric unit when 4 months earlier the police had dragged me in there. So, of course, I'm constantly, my brain is thinking of all the bad things that have happened. But even, as I've said many times, even if my partner was abusing me, which he couldn't possibly be, it wouldn't make sense. It'd just be stupid. Although they're very clever sociopaths. The ones that have allowed, who have encouraged me to think that he's abusing me, they've neglected me or physically assaulted me and name-called and done horrific things to me. Some of them have committed crimes against humanity. And I'm going to say it, Shani from the crisis team who tore up my partner's CAS card. They were saying to me, there was a nurse who was saying, oh, but they couldn't do that because they'd get the sack. No, I don't think so, because that same Shani had me pinned down and illegally, forcibly injected with I don't know what. Sedated. But you have to be given a wet ink signature to do that. It's still a hangable offence under Nuremberg Treaty. And I was just asking for my possessions, which has been a common occurrence throughout the years to date, as you will see, which led to me going up to Beachy Head suicidal. And today, the plan was that I was going to kill myself today, and I didn't. Or because of my possessions, my belongings, because my partner's friend Eben threatened to, she said that things had gone. And then, of course, stuff from the hospital and the police, and, it's been a common theme. So, and when there's no one else to blame, it's always going to be my partner, isn't it? Because there's no one else. So, although I've kissed my partner's hand and kissed him and I've said, I haven't apologised because I don't want to be a hypocrite, because I'm still very, do you know what I mean? So, it's a very difficult place to be in. But this just goes to show, neither of us have ever experienced anything like this in our lives. Even though he said he told his parents this was happening before he was with me. I want him to confirm what he means by that, because I've never ever been arrested before he came along. I had leaks in the flat that were coming from the washing machine, but they weren't from the washing machine. A maintenance man said it was an Eastbourne Homes problem. It wasn't the private rented flat, it was Eastbourne Homes that owned the building of private flats. And they never did anything, because the council still aren't doing anything, and I'm coming to that. And basically, there were leaks going through to the hair salon below me. But I said to him tonight, I said, look, I had that 1-bedroom flat when I was with you, and as awful as it was being in there with all my stuff and my money all over the place and just everything all over the place, I said, did you set it up? Because I went down to the psychiatric unit, he had the caring role, and I'd like to think I've created all this stuff in my mind that it's not true. I just hope and pray I'm wrong. But anyway, I feel like I've come back from the dead, as I said before, spiritually speaking. tonight has been interesting. And I'll just say that basically we came back from the hotel. What was I going to say first? The Cyclists, the funeral director. Just have a sip of this, excuse me. Always let my tea get cold. What was I going to say? I'd like to think that I'll say better things about my partner again. I'm just still obviously in a very place. I can't even describe the pain I was feeling up on the cliffs, because I went from, disassociative, and I was trying to disassociate as much as possible, because when you've got real thoughts about killing yourself and how you're going to do it, I'll try and go backwards. Because what I'd done was, in the early hours, I took an old duvet up there with the idea to go and buy alcohol. Well, first of all, I bought the alcohol and I went up there with the duvet, because it's too much to carry all this stuff up the cliffs. And in case I got tired and I'd need to lie down on a duvet, because it is tiring trying to kill yourself, let alone going up the cliffs backwards and forwards, because it's a long walk as well, isn't it? So, but it's of course the emotional draining, and doing it in the early hours, and when you suffer with insomnia, and of course I'm severely anemic, it's draining. I mean, I really need to go to sleep now. It's coming up to 1:30 a.m. already and I haven't had much sleep. But anyway, with what I did, there was a video that I watched called a video, I don't swear, but when things are bad is when you start swearing, when you don't naturally swear. And there's a video that I looked up called how not to give a fuck about what other people think, and it was made by a woman, and I couldn't find it. But there were other videos with that title, and an American guy had a good point, saying that that basically you only care what other people think. Something along the lines of, you only care what other people think if they're going to say something. If you've got nothing to if you've got nothing to care about or something, you're not going to care what other people think if it's something that's worth caring about. That's it. If it's worth caring about and you feel that strongly, you're not going to care what other people think. And that really just says it all, doesn't it? So that's why, I got cross with the nursing assistant from the Eastbourne psychiatric unit who was sat opposite me, because they are celebrating the mutilation of children and these evil sex changes and what's happened to my sister. Anyway, and it doesn't bother me. For the first time ever, I'm not worried about what other people think. The other thing, cyclists, yes. Cyclists on Eastbourne pavements. On this this website thing about the UK's worst towns, and Eastbourne is one of them at the top. and it mentions cycling on pavements, which is really annoying at the best of times. But when it was still daylight earlier, I was walking under the pier, and 3 boys on bikes were cycling not that fast, but fairly fast towards me. And as they went by, it was fairly fast, and I shouted, "Oi! No, it says no cycling!" And I was aware that an awful lot of people were looking at me, because on the promenade, cycling is not allowed. I mean, but you've got the highway code, and so it does actually say no cycling. It's painted in certain areas on the promenade, but it's not very clear. I'm sure that there might have been a time when I would have cycled on the promenade, because you can't. I'm more bothered about how fast they go, because they're now doing it in the town centre. They're going zooming past, and some older women were looking at me and made a comment, and they smiled, and I said, very angrily, it was in the Herald that a 3-year-old got hit by a hit-and-run cyclist. And they were like, "Oh," and they stopped smiling. I said, "Yes, and a number of times me and my partner have nearly been hit. You only have to move slightly one way or slightly the other way. By law, they're not allowed to do that. It's for pedestrians. Paths, the town centre and the promenade are for pedestrians, not for zooming cyclists." And all these students were looking at me, and I thought, yes, that feeling that I'd come back from the dead, because I have lost so much confidence. I've been doing the British stiff upper lip and doing this, and it's like, come on now, come on, pull yourself together. So, what was I going to say? So, and then this evening, as I was walking along the seafront on the promenade opposite the Strand, while it was dark, a young lad, a black lad on a bicycle, went zooming past, and I shouted again, "Oi! No, there's no cycling." Well, when I didn't do it, I don't shout aggressively. I just shout very loudly, and he shouted abuse back at me. I know he couldn't hear me, but I said, "I'll report you." So I haven't done this for a long time, but I rang 101, and would you believe I got a good response? Well, that hasn't happened for a long time, has it? Usually it's like, "Oh, it's her." Yeah, because they're scumbags at 101. They say that something's a civil matter, like me being locked out of the house, and yet they turn up for the school teacher, which got 1,700 views. The police turned up because she didn't want a note put under her door. A school teacher, yes, a vile school teacher who abused me and my partner. I think all 3 of them should be put in prison together. The Three Stooges. Terry, the old man, Dion, the rattan school teacher, and the elderly ex-matron landlady. All 3 of them should be in prison. It sends the right message out, doesn't it? So anyway, the highway code. Yeah, because when I was a child, over 30 years ago, when I had a bicycle, my mother said to me, if you see people, stop, slow down, or get off your bicycle, especially when you see the elderly. It was common sense at the age of 10 to do that. But these don't have idiot. These don't have. They've their brains. They don't even have anything down there. They've got nothing in here. There's nothing going on at all. They're just idiots' mouths on wheels. Abusive mouths on wheels. But as I said, I've nearly been hit by cyclists in the town centre because they treat it like it's, a scene from E.T., they go, like on BMXs, all you need are the speed bumps, what do you call them, they're doing wheelies and whoosh. You only have to step one way out the way and that's it, you're dead. But a 3-year-old got hit by a hit-and-run cyclist on the promenade and she got injured. And that was in the Herald a few years ago. So what the MP, Caroline Ansell, is doing, I do not know. But she's ignoring a cancer patient who emailed her to say that I was attacked at Belmore Road. And wait till you hear what I'm about to say. Getting to that point in a minute. So, but it's that bad that, you've got drunks and the homeless in the town that are screaming and shouting and being abusive to security guards, trying to get in a fight with them. I'm saying to a security guard, it's, anarchy out here. You've got cyclists zooming past. Welcome to Eastbourne. You've got Terminus Road, the most famous road for drugs. But anyway, that's the most famous road in the UK for drug stealing. Yes, welcome to sunny Eastbourne, our Victorian seaside town. So I rang 101 and the call handler said, "Oh, I know what it's like. I agree with you. I'm a cyclist myself, and it's dangerous when other cyclists are oncoming." So she said, "Oh, next time you see someone doing that, just give them a call and we'll get a PCSO down there." But the problem is, once they're gone, they're gone. When a cyclist has just gone zooming past, you can't catch them. But she said, "Yes, you're right. It's probably a good idea to let the council know." And I said, "Well, I haven't been able to let the council know anything because basically I've been tortured by them and the police. Been made to sleep rough. Years of hell." And I didn't go into detail, but I said, it's like the smoking in bus shelters. I don't smoke, but it bothers. It's a problem for me, a massive problem. And it's meant to be a £100 fine for smoking in bus shelters. And I've been complaining about that since it was made illegal 17 years ago. So, but you know how it is, all the problems build up and you lose your confidence. But hey ho, when you're at rock bottom, there's only one way up. So what was the other thing I wanted to say? So, funeral director. We were in the hotel a while ago, the hotel where the duty manager had stepped in with the SDR living business. And what I didn't say was last night when things were stressful between me and my partner and he shouted at me and walked off. He'd been to the Samaritans. And whilst I'd come back from New Haven because I wanted to knock on the door about my possessions at South Road, I came back to the hotel that my partner was in, sat down with him, and I said, while I was talking, this was also after I had a lovely encounter with a woman on a bus, as I said yesterday, the woman on the bus and the bus driver, and then the second bus driver, the Scotsman, and when I lost it with that nursing assistant over the LGBT agenda and the psychiatric unit and all that, and my emotions. And I had come from that into the hotel that my partner was in. And I was telling my partner what had happened yesterday before things blew up, about how I had become very angry and passionate about my transgender sister in front of the nursing assistant who was opposite me from the psychiatric unit. And while I was talking to my partner yesterday, there was some, I noticed how there were some rather rowdy men sat with some women, and the men were very rowdy. You know, these are the types that really have to be heard, perhaps had a little bit to drink. And they were sitting in the lounge and they were being just as loud as I was. I've got a very loud voice, especially when I'm passionate. And I noticed how they were mimicking me because of what I was talking about and the subject matter, talking about my sister, the Samaritans, and everything else. And as I was, this is the sort of thing that little boys do, but these are grown men. I heard them in the background. They were on the other side of the lounge and they were going, "Oh, really? Oh," you know, making comments. "Oh, the Samaritans. Oh, oh, really? Oh, is it really? Oh," with everything that I was saying. And it wasn't me just, you know, it's very obvious that they were making fun of me because they were making comments about what I was saying to Darren. "Oh, the Samaritans. Oh, really?" on the other side of the lounge. And they were talking to a group of women who should really have just told them to shut their mouths. And I told Darren afterwards, before he shouted at me and walked off, because I said, "Did you notice that those men were making comments when I was speaking, having jibes?" I said I had to stop myself from going up to them and saying, "Oi, just shut it, will you? I'm talking to my partner about something sensitive, being suicidal. We've been talking to the Samaritans. I've got a brain damaged transgender sister I'm talking about, and you're talking about life expectancy, and you're making jibes in," and I had to stop myself from doing that. Well, guess what? This evening, one of the, because I talked to the staff in there, some of them are, one or two of them, a couple of them, two of them I really like, but they weren't there this evening. One of the hotel staff said to me when I went to go and get a cup of tea, he said, "Oh, Bryony, you know you were here last night." I said, "Yes." He said, "I just thought I'd say, some men were in the lounge where you are, and they said to me, they made a complaint about you. They said, oh, she was shouting." And he said, "Oh, that doesn't sound like Bryony." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And I just thought, "Oh," I said, "that doesn't sound like you at all." And I said, "You know," and I told him, I said, I said to my partner, they were making jibes. I said, "I wasn't shouting. I've just got a very loud voice." He said, I'm not bothered about it." But I said, "Oh, but I am." I said, I had to stop myself from going up to them and saying, "Do you mind not making jibes?" You know. But he said, I'm not bothered, you know. He said one of the men, though, he said they were guests. He said they're guests in the hotel. He said one of the men is a funeral director. I said, "Really?" I very nearly said to him, I wanted to ask him which funeral director to give him a piece of my mind. I didn't. I think it's best to just deal with a little bit of anger at once. But it's the fact that it's a funeral director. If it was just Joe Bloggs who works in Sports Direct, but the fact that it's a funeral director, do you know what I mean? It makes it, this is someone that's supposed to have sensitivity. I'm talking about going to the Samaritans. I mean, I went up Beachy Head suicidal tonight. My partner went to the Samaritans, and they're mocking, these men are mocking us. And one of them's a funeral director. I wonder which one in Eastbourne, eh? Yeah. But so many people seem to know about my YouTube channel. So, as I said to my partner, that's the enemy. And even he made a comment about it. He said, well, that's just the state of their heart. How awful it is to be them. But they probably wanted to make a complaint, hoping that it would get back to me and that would make me react badly. And of course, we all know they all want, these evil doers want a reaction, so they're not going to get it. Only on my watch, when it's, you got to do the right thing at the right time. So anyway, that was that. And then I received an email from, would you believe, Grace Hill, Housing Needs Specialist. This is someone that works above my housing officer, who put me through hell all of last year. I forwarded now this is someone who's being investigated by the legal ombudsman, and as you will have seen from the YouTube video that I made 1 or 2 days ago, because they're on to me, Eastbourne Borough Council are really heavily targeting me now. It's my phone ringing. Hang on. So I'll wait for the phone to ring again. There you go. Yeah, so sorry, I just answered the phone. So basically, so because of the email that I sent to the housing officer who helped the main one, well, they're all in the same club. So Sally Fisher from the TA team, Andrew Cook, they're all, my partner's just helped me forward the email that Grace Hill has just sent to me today, pretending to be concerned about me, but making threats to me, because I have sent the text messages that you will have heard me read out in a video a couple of days ago, the text messages between myself and John, who manages this property, and Andrew Cook, the housing officer, verbatim, because I said to Andrew Cook in a text message, I did not consent for you to take information about the court hearing. It's none of your business or the council's, unless I decide to put it in a YouTube video. But there have been massive breaches of personal data and GDPR, hence this landlady, why she should go to prison. And I've now forwarded Grace Hill's threatening email to me, because she's basically, my partner has helped me type up an email this evening to the solicitor, forwarding Grace Hill's email to me, because she's basically saying that the text messages I've been sending, as you will have seen in my video, are inappropriate, even though I forwarded the video that you saw of me complaining about the bins outside, which is a health and safety hazard for the council, right? And they're trying to basically threaten and jeopardise this room that took 6 weeks for me to get, and the council weren't even acting by law by getting me an illegal evictions officer. And she's saying we want to look into, the reasons why you were evicted. I wasn't even evicted. I was unlawfully locked out of the house, Grace Hill, who works above these you-know-whats. Because I sent an email to Monique Prescott in a suicidal state today, and that's why her superior, her manageress, Grace Hill, emailed me, but Monique Prescott has not even bothered to look into the discretionary housing payment that forced me into rent arrears. And by the way, there are a lot of Eastbourne residents who have been forced into rent arrears because the council wouldn't pay housing benefit. This council is so unbelievably corrupt, and why so many of the Eastbourne letting agents refer to them as the rude word beginning with B, and all the evil things that they've done to me. People like John Tutty, as you will have heard me mention previously, and all the problems that I've been given because of them that have forced me into this suicidal state. So she's telling me to go to the very people that couldn't give a shit about me, who have created all of this. There is no help out there. Go and have a look at Paul Thorpe's live stream. He put 2 of my posts up on his screen. One of them was, I'd like you to hear my story. I shook hands with Paul Thorpe. He's a bit of a celebrity in the speaking out world with what is happening here, and how the world is watching and protecting Tommy Robinson because of our evil establishment. So that's why there are a lot of people who are like, right, Bryony's not so vulnerable, is she? She's a bit scary. Yeah, because I'm exposing your evil, and you know who you are. So this Grace Hill, let me remind you who this Grace Hill is. This is the same Grace Hill that when I self-funded the Cavendish Hotel for 9 months for my safety and forwarded a South Down Housing Association support worker who was going through cancer treatment, I forwarded her witness statement that went to the MP saying that she witnessed me being attacked at this property at Belmore Road. This is the same Grace Hill whom, after 9 months of self-funding the Cavendish with back pip, my severe disability, under the Equality Act, for my safety, this is the property that she said was suitable. This Grace Hill, who works above my housing officer at Eastbourne Borough Council, who put my life in danger. And they're all making out that they're victims of Bryony McCarthy's YouTube. Listen to this at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Because I'll swear down, I will come up there and I'll beat you senseless. Dirty little bitch. I'll beat your Dory. Bryony, I'm not fucking joking. I'm not fucking...
That is the same Grace Hill who said that all-female accommodation was suitable, and I self-funded the Cavendish for 9 months when I wanted to use some of that money to donate a personalised mobility scooter to my late mother's resting place with her name on the mobility scooter engraved. But no, I couldn't do that. And I was told, and I'm not going to say where my mother's resting place is, but it's a very popular place and it's a beautiful place. And they don't want benches there, but the person who owns that land, whose phone number I've had for decades, whom my late mother had, John, his name is, he said we could do with mobility scooters. I said, all right, well, I'll try and get one of them personalised. Well, I didn't, because as I said, I had to self-fund the Cavendish for 9 months for my safety, and I haven't even been to my mother's resting place for years. I signed my mother's death certificate at the town hall when I was still in supported accommodation. And 8 days before my mother died, I was forced by these bastards to sign a homeless application form. I couldn't physically eat. Oh, but they helped me. They helped me get into a 1-bedroom flat. Okay, so that means your work was done. I had issues that I didn't even know I had to this day. I've now got a severe disability that I didn't have before, that you've all perpetuated, and this evil landlady is one of them. And she's worked in a hospital. She told me she lost a niece to suicide. She's 85 and she's happy to go to prison for what she's done to me. And you, Grace Hill, you want to find out the reasons why I was evicted. I wasn't evicted. She changed the locks. Get it right, woman. Get it right. You sicken me. And also she put in that email where it wasn't even an email that I sent to Grace Hill today. It was an email I sent to Monique Prescott, who hasn't looked into the DHP, who hasn't looked into who and why the garage I pay storage for to the council was sold. She was meant to do all these things for me. And this Grace Hill has sent me an email saying, well, threatening me that I could have this room taken from me when they didn't do what the law was telling them to do. And the judge told me to go to our useless Member of Parliament, Caroline Ansell. Oh, Councillor Josh Babarundi was a victim of my YouTube before he'd even met me. No, how do you do? Didn't even respond to my online application form. You saw, if you were watching me throughout 2022, from late 2021 when my father had died, because I still don't know how he died, and you lot had me beaten, Andrew Cook and all you lot, you had me beaten out of my flat. And Monique Prescott said she admitted to me that her colleagues had said to her, if it's Bryony, you can hang up on her because she's recording. She at least admitted to that. But I've got a recording on my laptop where Monique is telling me to leave an old lady alone, who's telling Monique that I'm not a problem. I was physically forced by police into Pavements Road, which is not a nice road to live in. A lot of drugs around there. Yeah. Langley Road, Susan's Road, all the roads that everyone wants to avoid. A lot of drugs around there. And I recorded elderly neighbours at the Riverbourne house saying that the accommodation I was in had a bad reputation, and one of my assailants, Sherelle Clark and Dion Clark, mother and daughter, jailed for 5 years for mugging the elderly, is on this dictaphone. Sergeant Simmons told me to purchase a dictaphone, which I did. I've got criminal evidence on it, and they arrested me for doing it. And that vile creature that was on a tag that you just heard, threatening to beat me senseless at 3 a.m, they were She was smiling because she managed to get them to arrest me unlawfully. And 3 hours after that recording, PC Scott Franklin Lester Sr., who, according to the lady next door, is known in East Sussex for bullying the vulnerable, has got all his medals, tried to get me in prison for being suicidal on Beachy Head, and they slandered me in the Herald. I'm not even a Freemason, and look what they've done to me. They've slandered me in the Herald. I'm such a dangerous woman, aren't I? I make a joke about it. Bryony McCarthy, 39-year-old Bryony McCarthy on bail. Bail? Bail? It's like watching an episode of The Bill or something. I've had a middle-class upbringing. I've had a sheltered life. I'm like, this is an out of body. This is not me. That's why the legal ombudsman tried to get me compensation from Cramp and Mullany, and they didn't. But they had 90 quid from me years before that when they said, we can't help you, but we'll take 90 quid from you for a consultation just to tell you we can't help you. Yet they put me through all that torture. And the solicitor had said to me, well, I don't understand how they can try to get you in prison over a welfare check. Well, plead guilty so that you can get a probation officer to help you with housing. A probation officer? I'm an innocent woman. But welcome to the UK. The system, guys, the legal system is so screwed. They protect criminals. So I'm not even a Freemason. I was saying to my partner walking back here, I said, I'm not even a Freemason, and look what they did to me in the Herald. We were talking about Hugh Edwards, who's been done for the word child and pornography. It's not pornography, that's a disgusting thing to say. It's pedophilia, sex abuse, disgusting, evil, vile, don't even want to say it. I feel physically sick just saying it. I don't think I'll ever be able to look at that funny clip of Hugh Edwards on that TV programme where he's a cock up, you know, where he's not, you know, the thing's gone wrong. And as my partner said, it now makes you wonder what he was thinking during that cock up when the cameras were on him and he's pulling faces and he's not ready to read off the thing that whatever newsreaders read off, autocue or whatever. But because I wondered, when I first heard Hugh Edwards was done for this, I thought to myself, has he been set up the way the Freemasons do, you know, when they when they're initiated into the satanic cult, and they take pictures of them in compromising positions and then they bribe them, because apparently my partner said this was during the scamdemic, so maybe it's looking like it's real. I can't imagine him. It's a bit strange though that why would you put, if you've got a salary of 450 grand a year, why would you put that on the line to do something so unthinkably evil and so openly? Even if you are in the club, it's like, really? But anyway, who knows? Only Yahweh knows what's going on. This is all being watched and documented. The truth, everything that's unseen will be revealed. But I've seen, as my partner said, the convicted pedophile who we wonder if that young man was maybe put in place, you know, the way they do, like the Mancunian candidate, as a sort of like a a entrapment. Entrapment, is that the word I'm looking for? Entrapment. But so that's me done. I'm coming to the end of this now, so I said what I was going to say. So how disgusting these people are. Grace Hill is saying, we have no responsibility over your possessions being disposed of. Well, I forwarded the photograph of the possessions that Jamie and Jackie kept at 4 South Road. One woman. If I had a smartphone right now, I don't have a smartphone, I don't understand that technology, but I would film the photograph of that one woman who had possessions up to the ceiling. I think I was complaining because I couldn't get out to the courtyard or something, but I was making a point that I just had bags. I just had some bags. I didn't have a whole house full of stuff to the ceiling, which this woman did. And Monique Prescott and this floating support worker said to me that she had, that the proprietors, the mother and son, still had the rest of my possessions there. And the son, Jamie, knew me from primary school. But this is what's so sickening is who and why. Because at the time that Jamie said to me, I was only there for about 3 months. And because I didn't accept a grotty flat in, what they'd done was, the council, it's taken me a while to work this out, even though it's pretty damn obvious. I'd been beaten out of my SDR living flat as a response to my father's death, a brand new flat where they were just putting down the new carpets. 4 months I was there. I was forced out of Eastbourne, telling lie, out in the countryside for one night in a travel lodge. That was the only time they funded. And my partner used his rent money and borrowed money from his father, lugging suitcases all the way from Eastbourne to Brighton. I was telling Margarita in the town, she said, this level of stress is what can kill you. I said, I know. I've been losing blood. I'm severely anemic. I've never, ever been so ill in my life. Not like nothing ever in my life. Never experienced anything like this. This is off the scale. No, I can't even relax for 5 minutes without dealing with these demented lunatics, hiding keys and all that. That's why all 3 of them should be in prison. But to go from that to then New Haven, where I'm in my childhood best friend's old house. The proprietor knows me from primary school. And because I won't accept a grotty flat, despite someone from adult social care saying, we'll help you find somewhere if this is unsuitable, she leaves her job, just like the care coordinator who was sacked, who said I could have that flat at SDR living as long as I needed it, and I was beaten out of it. Jamie said to me, the council have said to us, if you don't leave, we must call the police. Because I wouldn't accept a flat, because it was unsuitable under Section 7 of the Housing Act. This is why Grace Hill doesn't like me, because I'm using the law on them. Trudy from Warming Up the Homeless told me to send Andrew Cook, my housing officer, under the Housing Act, explain in writing why this is unsuitable. But now you just want to bully me because I'm putting your text messages in an email. I'm on to you. I'm way on to you. I'm not going to let you know I'm not going to read the email that I forwarded the solicitor. I'll keep you guessing. So, you have to make these people... Well, anyway, I'm not anywhere near out of the woods. You know, I could still go and kill myself. I could still go and top myself. My valuables mean something to me. But then this landlady should be done for manslaughter if I do suicide. And then people will come down heavily on the council. But, yeah, I just do not care. They deliberately put people. I now know, years ago, about 10, 15 years ago, someone said to me that the people that work in the council are ex-prison wardens, and I could believe that. There's nothing in them. They've got to be cold, no conscience. Because I tell you what, these places are like, I've never been to prison, but I've been told by people who've come out of prison that these council temporary accommodations are more dangerous. People can do what they... Well, I showed you the holes in the walls. I was attacked to the point where I thought I'd be killed at this property, and Grace Hill, who threatened me here, who wants information after breaching GDPR, she said that this place where I was attacked to the point where I thought I would be killed was a suitable place. My stuff was still in that room when I fled. Abba Yahweh, thank you that I had £12,000 of back pip. Because I'm telling you now, I would have been gone like that. I'd be in the ditch, I'd be on drugs, raped, murdered, heaven knows what. But that 12 grand saved my life, that back pip that by law I should never ever have had to use, and I would never wish this on my worst enemy. So on that note, I shall say Shalom Yahweh and stay strong and fight the good fight.